Alright. Hello, everybody. Okay, so I am starting something new today, and so just go over everything. Okay, so last time I did a bricks video, so this time I'm gonna review Trump's executive orders. So, this is about, and you can read my statement. The following video is for research purposes. The purpose is to understand if Trump's executive orders are legal. Another purpose is to understand the role AI can play in the government. Another purpose is to understand the accuracy of AI. And I also want everybody to know that I'm not an attorney. Um, so, like, whatever I say is not legally bound. Um, in that I'm, like, my interpretation could not be right. The AI's interpretation cannot be right because we're checking the accuracy of how good AI is. Um, because you know, people are worried about it trying to take over government, especially with Elon Musk. And we'll go over some of that too. Um, and and also the legality of AI and the role in government and um, possible defenses toward it. Okay, with that, I think the first thing that we should go over is at this very moment, can AI take over Congress, the presidency, and the judiciary? Um, I say no because people have to be voted on, and there has to maintain separate branches of government, and an AI would just be all three branches combined and not a separation. And but people have to be elected because it's a government of the people, for the people, by the people. So at the moment, the way how the Constitution is written, I say that AI cannot take over the government. Um, or, they can't be Congress, the president, or Supreme Court judges, or judges in general. Um, so that's the first thing I'm going to check, and then we're going to go into one of Trump's executive orders. Um, all right, so let me get everything set up. Okay, so I gave you my opinion on it, and now I'm going to read. So I asked Grok, would it be legal for AI to replace the President, Congress, and Judiciary of the U.S.? And it says no, it wouldn't be illegal under the current U.S. Constitution. The Constitution lays out specific roles for the President, Article 2, Congress, Article 1, and the Judiciary, Article 3. And these roles are fulfilled by humans elected or appointed through defined processes, which I stated previously. So both I and Grok agree on that. There's no provision for an AI to take over any of these branches. Replacing them with AI would require a constitutional amendment, which needs a two-thirds vote in both the House and Senate, plus ratification by three-fourths of the states, Article 5. That's a high bar, and it's hard to see it happening without massive public and political support, which doesn't exist right now. Legality aside, the practical and ethical issues are wild. AI doesn't have accountability like humans do. No elections, no impeachment, no oaths of office. It'd be a black box calling the shots, and the Constitution's checks and balances would collapse. Plus, who programs it? Who decides its values? You'd be handing over democracy to whoever controls the code. Exactly. If you're asking about some hypothetical future where AI governance is proposed, it's still a stretch. The US system is built on human judgment, not algorithms. Any move to replace it would face legal challenges up to the Supreme Court, which ironically would still be human judges ruling on their own absoluteness. Um, absol- um, um, which would still be human judges ruling on their obsolescence. For now, it's a non-starter under the law as it stands on March 10th, 2025. Okay, so I mean, so I agree with that, and I've been trying to point that out to people, and the main thing is we just gotta stay active in this process, and we definitely gotta stop AI from reaching any kind of thing like this. Um, but for now, keep this in mind. It has to be people elected, and the Constitution does define that particular process. And um, and we also need to keep an eye on, because normally they don't do it. They don't do things in the United States first, but there could be other countries that go this route. Let me see. Um, are there any countries that have plans to replace their government with AI? At the moment it says no. I'm not going to read this verbatim. Um, okay, so Estonia has been a leader in digitizing government services. Think e-voting since 2007. Damn. And 94% of tax returns online by 2012. They're exploring AI for other things like predictive to predict basically traffic and management. China's got a heavy focus on the AI too, so we gotta keep an eye on that with its techno utilitarianism vibe, using big data and AI to shape markets and governments. Their 2030 AI leadership goal is ambitious, but it's about state-controlled enhancement, not swapping out the Communist Party for a machine. Gotcha. Okay. And then you got the AI Opportunities Action Plan, talks about AI to cut NHS, this is in the UK, waiting list and streamline bureaucracy, aiming to make Britain an AI superpower. The US is also in the game, with the State Department leveraging AI for foreign policy analysis, and Trump's administration eyeing it to slash federal spending. Think of Elon Musk and Doge crew automating jobs, but these are cost-cutting and efficiency plays, not blueprints for AI overlords. The closest you get to radical ideas is theoretical chatter. Where 51% of Europeans were open to replacing some parliamentarians with AI, or Musk offhand musing about AI slashing government waste, but no country's government has a roadmap to ditch humans for code. Legal systems like the US Constitution would need total rewrites, and public trust in AI isn't there yet. Imagine yeah, okay. So there are things going, and remember that I said that the goal isn't 2030. Okay, the goal is 2050 from all the BRICS documents. So this is definitely something we got to keep an eye on because we know Musk and others really want this and they're putting fear into the population. And one of the things I'm trying to do is I'm trying to cut down on the fear aspect. Okay, now that we've done that, let's go into executive order. I think it's like 14147. Um, okay, so now let's get into executive order. Executive order 14147 or 14,147. So overviewing this just on a personal basis, more than likely this executive order is legal. There could be a few concerns depending on how it's used and the perceived political opponents and kind of going back and weaponizing, well, going back and reviewing, depending on how they review what the previous administration did. But in a weird sense, it's ending the weaponization of federal government. I'm not quite so sure on that. If you're reviewing the previous administration, I think you should have labeled the title of that differently, because then it appears as if you yourself are weaponizing the government to see what the other party did that was illegal. So, in my view right now, we're in a political war within the United States between Democrat and Republicans, and in the upper factions, because oligarchies have kind of always ruled America. And so there's a Democrat oligarchy and there seems to be a Republican oligarchy. And there's a lot of documents talking about me that there's two factions in power, and there's probably factions underneath those factions. But this is, I would say, the political civil war that we're under. And so let's get further into this, because I did ask Grok about this, and I agree with Grok's assessment on this. So when assessing the legality of this, and I'll read it verbatim, I do agree with Grok that it's questionable depending on how it's used. So let's go into that. Okay, so something's going on with X. It's having some issues today, Monday morning. I was able to briefly put it in, but for some reason I can't get it back up because X is having some issues. So I went to this website right here. Yes, I know some people may have an issue that this is Derek Holder and this person, and it's somebody in the Democrat Party saying this, but I'm just going to kind of summarize what this person says, because it's always good to look at the other side to see what they say too. But this is just basically the executive order issued by the president aims to address what is described as the misuse of federal law enforcement and intelligence agencies by the previous administration. Here's the simplified summary. So it basically is talking about, what it's going to do, but the executive order is going to be going into things like it also accuses them of uneven enforcement of law, like prosecuting January 6 participants harshly while dropping charges for many of the individuals involved in Black Lives Matter protests. The policy goal: the U.S. government will investigate and correct any misconduct by federal agencies that use their power unfairly or in a politically biased way over the last 4 years. And then it goes into the action plan. You guys can read that if you want to, but my interest is the takeaway. That would be right here. Before taking such a significant action, the executive order should be grounded in concrete evidence of systematic misuse of power. Without clear evidence, the order risks making sweeping claims without substantiation, further politicizing the operation of agencies that are designated to function without political interference. Ensuring transparency and accountability is essential, but it is also important that allegations of abuse are supported by specific documented incidents rather than generalized assumptions. While the goal of ensuring accountability and protecting constitutional rights is valid, the approach of this executive order may result in unnecessary political conflict, misuse of resources, and a breakdown of public trust in law enforcement agencies. And the last sentence, he could be right on that. Another thing, when I was looking at Grok, it did talk about, like, if they're going to review, like, financial documents, that they can't, they have to be cautious in that area. Because Congress controls the purse, the executive branch doesn't control the purse, and that could be an area for a Supreme Court judgment. So, I mean, especially if they're going to use, like, law enforcement to go after any actions dealing with the purse, that would involve Congress in a way. If I was, yeah. But yeah, I mean, there could be complications, so I do agree that it is important to be transparent and accountable, and that is specifically done through Congress and committees. So, or I guess the Attorney General can come out and lay it out, or the Director of National Intelligence too, if they choose. So there's caution, I would say, in the overall picture. It's legal, but depending on how the departments use it in a review, could question the legality of the order, but it may not be the legality of the order specifically, like this executive order right here. It could just be the legality issue of them possibly overstepping their designated power. Like I said, trying to pursue something in financial transactions. They can look, but doing anything else, depending on how it's done, I'm not saying if it's done, it's illegal. I'm just saying it could go into that area of being questionable. So I would say, like, there's a good chance at 90%, like, it's 100% legal, I would say, but like I said, depending on how it's used, we'll go 90-10 on it being legal, just depending on how it's used. Um, I wish X was up. I'm trying to see if I can't get anything from it right now before I get off of here, because I'm trying to be somewhere by noon. So let's see if I can't get anything to pop up real fast. Okay, so I couldn't get anything to pop up real fast. It seems like there are major issues going on X. Like I can't get that to pop up anymore. So I'm gonna leave it here. Um, I think for the most part, what I said was very good and accurate. It just depends on how those individuals in power use that order, and depending on how it's used, then it can be challenged. Um, but I don't think anything specifically is wrong with the order itself, but it just depends on how those in powers choose to use it if they overstep their bounds. Um, so I'm gonna leave it right there. I hope you got something good from all this. I'd like to hear your comments. Uh, but other than that, have a good one, and I'm gonna get this published out. Um, so bye bye now. And this has been an executive order production.